I am not a churchgoer, but I did sing in a church choir. It is perhaps this experience where subconsciously I have come to appreciate church architecture created in the name of the Almighty. Most churches allow photography. There are exceptions. Some require a fee for photography. Others restrict the use of tripods and flash. So be warned. Being an Olympus mentor, I have been privileged to use many cameras and lenses over the years, from the E1 in 2003 to the EM1 Mark II with a range of lenses. Two are f1.2 prime lenses, useful when a tripod is not allowed, as is the 12-100 Pro lens. Although the maximum aperture is f4, it is constant and with its own image stabilizer that works with the camera's stabilizer. Surely the best all-round system available for hand-holding at 200 ISO. Many churches are dark inside, particularly those having Norman architecture, when the era of great cathedral buildings started. They had smaller windows. Larger windows did not come until early Gothic, when design and construction techniques had improved. Not everything went smoothly. As an example, Ely's most renowned architectural feature, the octagon, only came into existence after the central tower collapsed in 1322 and had to be replaced. Over the years, other parts of the cathedral suffered a similar fate, but it is safe now. Larger windows, especially if clear, let in more light, creating contrast problems. All too often, a beautifully exposed interior of the choir, with the choir stalls showing every delicate detail, has the east window overexposed, even if it is stained glass. With film transparencies intended for projection, you had little wriggle room for exposure. Printworkers had more flexibility to correct highlights and shadows in the darkroom, but it was not until the digital age and computers that post-production made it possible to balance successfully extreme highlights with shadows. HDR has found favour where the camera takes several images in register at different exposures and blends the best bits together in camera, or by the photographer in post-production by merging them in Photoshop. I prefer to take a single shot by spot metering near a highlight, allowing the shadows to become underexposed. Save to RAW and then lighten shadows in Lightroom or Photoshop. This takes a bit of practice because it can result in an increase in noise. But in post-production I can exercise more control and even try again. Get the exposure right with your preferred technique and everything falls into place. Relying on my image stabilizer, I stick to 200 ISO, increasing to 400 only when necessary. Hand-holding allows me to get into awkward corners, and when working with different light sources, I find auto-white balance comes up trumps. But by saving to RAW, I can change my mind later. For some broader tips, wait until 4 p.m. for less people. A cloudy day resolves contrast problems and reveals detail in dark corners invisible to the eye. Avoiding converging verticals with stained glass windows is challenging. If you can use a tripod, mount the camera firmly and, provided nothing obstructs, go further away from the window and use a telephoto lens, prime or zoom, so that the angle of tilt is reduced. I have handheld this way. Some correction in Photoshop may still be necessary, as will general views down the nave when pointing the camera up from horizontal to include the ceiling. Ultra-wide-angle lenses such as the Zuiko 7-14 add impact and drama, but converging verticals are greatly exaggerated and only work without correction when the ground is not in shot. In order to survive for our pleasure, after all, these magnificent buildings are also visual galleries of historic and modern art. They need our patronage, and I am very happy to support the continued maintenance of these churches by paying a reasonable fee to enter as a tourist. Some are free to enter, especially for worship, but whatever your faith, please remember that churches are foremost places of Christian worship and often have a chapel set aside for quiet prayer, which should of course be respected.